Hey everyone, we are out on the front deck right now, and I don't know if this happens to your garden in August or it's just me not keeping on top of things, but August is when some of my plants just start dying. Now I do have plants die in other months, but it really seems like August is when either things like fungus or pests just really take a toll on my plants. So what I'm going to do today is try to make the things that aren't looking great look a little bit better. Now, I will say, I know that I feel like when you're in your garden, you're always the hardest on your garden. I had my friends here a little bit ago, and that's always a nice reminder that, oh, they don't see all of the terrible things that I see when I'm going around the garden. But I do want to kind of try to improve some things that are definitely dying. Try to get a hold on the powdery mildew, which I know I just showed you how I've been treating that, but it seems like it's been much harder to keep a hold on this year. So I figure I'll take you around first. I mean, from this angle, things look great, but I promise you it doesn't look as great up close. So I'll take you around, I'll show you what I'm gonna do, and then we'll just go ahead and get to it. Oh, also, it is currently rehearsal for the Air and Water Show in Chicago. So I'm hoping with the microphone you won't hear the planes too much, although it is eerily quiet right now for the city, but they are doing the rehearsal. So if you see any planes flying in the background or hear, that's what's going on. I'll try to see too if I can get any of the planes because they do fly over our house. So let's go ahead. I'll show you what is not looking very great right now. Now, actually, I would say the front deck is not as bad as the back deck. And again, none of them are bad. Trying to be a little bit easier on myself and my garden. This still, I'm gonna leave it still. I think it's definitely dying out, but that's more for the butterflies. But the first thing I'm gonna do is pull this plant. Now, I know I just showed you this in the 2024 video. I did love it. It was my fault for planting it in very poor quality soil. Then I also added another Calibrachoa to try to replace what I pulled in there and put better soil in that half, but it's getting too much shade. So I'm going to go ahead and remove everything from this box. Then what I'm going to do is just scooch the caladiums, which look really great and happy back there. It's the clowning around caladiums. I'm just going to scooch that back up so that way it doesn't even look like anything is actually missing. I think I'm going to do a little trimming on my petunias, although they don't look as bad as they did a couple days ago. I think they're just kind of bouncing back from the latest budworm infestation. But again, with the preventative spray, the budworms haven't been able to take out all the petunias. So take that, budworms, but I think it does need just a little bit of a trim up. And then I think I'm gonna empty out this pot. As you can see, it's just not looking its best right now. I don't know if it's a combination of overcrowding. I know there was an issue with too much water earlier, budworms, but it's just not making me happy anymore. And I am starting to pull some things that are in pots without irrigation, which this is because we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. And I don't want the person who's going to be watching the garden to worry about watering that many pots. So I think that one's going to get pulled. The one back there with the Hoopla Vivid Orchid, that one still looks good, so I think I'm going to leave that. And I think that might be everything up here I'm going to do. Ooh, before we go. So, weird year for dahlias, it seems like, with most people. Let me know if you've had a great dahlia year, but that hasn't seemed to be the trend. This one, the American Dawn on the left, has been doing great. These, which I think were the Penhill Watermelon, we'll see when it opens, have just been taking forever. There's one over there on the far left, which I don't even know if you can see because it's so small. It's like right there. It just kind of stopped growing, but it looks healthy, so I couldn't bring myself to pull it yet. But this one finally has a bud. So whenever this blooms, if it does, it'll be the first flower on this dahlia, which again is definitely abnormal. So now let's head to the back deck. I'll show you what I'm going to do there. I don't know if I'm going to do as many tasks, but that back deck garden does seem like it's been having more issues than the front deck garden. So let's go take a look. One thing I know I'm going to do back here for sure is I'm going to pull these 2 pots of Gomphrena. Now they still look great actually, but I've already pulled 4 of the 6 that I had in 8-inch terracotta pots. We had a lot of heavy rain. These plants in these pots just seem to get broken. The stems are pretty long. I mean, they kind of go every which direction. So they haven't held up to the rain very well. So I already pulled a bunch. These are also in pots without irrigation. So again, just kind of paring the garden down before we head out to make it easier for the person who's going to be, well, cat sitting, but also watering the garden. So these are going to come out. I'm going to hang them to dry. I'm very excited to show you where I'm going to hang them to dry. Now let's look at these zinnias that I've been trying to battle the powdery mildew on. As you can see, it's still spreading up the leaves, even though I spray it on a weekly basis, and even more if it rains. And I've had to remove a bunch more leaves at the bottom. I'm telling people I've pruned this into a tree zinnia on purpose, totally my plan, but I don't know if I'm going to do anything else. I also added some staking with the sunflowers to try to keep it more upright. Part of me wants to pull it, part of me is not ready to have an empty space in this bed, and they are still producing blooms. So I might just clean up a little bit there, still leave the blooms on the plant and some of the leaves, but might take some off on the lower area, no matter how funny that's going to look. I might pull that one on the left though, although that bee just seemed to enjoy it. So we'll see where the day takes us. So I'm gonna start up front, come back here, we'll see how much I get done. I only really have about an hour of time that I can work, and gardening is one of those things where I could spend the entire day out here doing something to my garden. So we'll start out front, I'll get those things pulled, and then we will head back here. All right, first thing, this petunia is coming out. Again, I promise this would have performed better had I not planted. I mean, even now, I don't remember the last time I watered this, and this soil is so dense, this is still, like I can tell through my gloves that it still is pretty moist. So don't get Vigoro, whatever the brand name is. I think it's Vigoro. Don't recommend that. So I like to cut the plant off of the root ball, and then I'm just going to toss both, just because I find that that's easier in the trash bag. So that's done. And then I'm just going to pull this little guy. And now, where do I want to put you? I could just swap the one in front versus behind. I even feel like this whole container is heavier than it would be with well-draining soil. Floor for now. Okay, so now, just shifting these caladiums up. And it looks like this has been my plan all along. You wouldn't know that I killed 4 plants, I think it was, in that flower box. Maybe a little more forward. There we go. I think that looks really nice. All right, now with this, I think I'm actually going to keep the soil in it for now. So about half is Vigoro, half is new soil I put in. I'm going to add some more perlite and maybe just put some pansies in here for the fall, because pansies are relatively cheap. So if I kill them in here, even if I increase the drainage, I won't be that sad about it. At some point though, I might just toss this soil, which is a lot more difficult to do on a rooftop deck than at ground level. So I think for now I'm going to put it in the back somehow. I think this looks pretty nice now with that in there. The caladiums just moved up to the front. And then the old box is sitting right behind it. But yeah, I like how that looks. All right, next is emptying out this pot here, which, again, even though it's not dead, it's just not looking the best anymore. And I use this can to then bring everything over to the garbage can, or if it's things I'm going to compost, I will take them out back. I do see some pests on here, which I did not notice, like the little white flies. So goodbye to you. And you. And you. This soil actually looks pretty good. So I definitely did not use the Vigoro in here. So this is going to be an empty pot. I don't know if I'm going to plant it up for fall or do it with bulbs. Well, plant it up with like annuals for fall, or plant it up with bulbs in the fall for next spring. I might just do bulbs and leave this empty. We'll kind of see. And then while we're over here, I'm just going to trim off some of the super petunias as well. Give that a little refresh for the end of the season, which I can't believe we're so close to the end of the season. But it happens every year, so I should be ready for it by now. It also looks like I could add some iron to these plants too. So I'll hit the beds with some liquid iron. And I think I'm also due to fertilize with the bloom boosting fertilizer in the next couple days. Okay, first plan of action here is to get the gomphrena out of the pot. I find it's easier to pull it out. Well, we'll see if the root ball comes out, but if I cut the plant off first, it's a little bit more difficult to get the root ball out, but hopefully, oh, nope, I think I'm already breaking the plant. Come on. Nope, the plant's just gonna come off. All right, well, that's what I'm gonna take inside to dry. So, let's see if I can wiggle this one out. My smaller pots are usually harder to empty because the root ball gets so root bound that it basically sticks to everywhere. So what I do, let me kind of stick it on top of this, is I'll use my finger in the drainage hole to kind of start breaking up the roots in there. Let's see if that's accomplished anything. A little bit. All right, next plan of attack is to gently beat it on the deck. See, I don't like to do this as, that worked though. I don't like to do that as much because I make more of a mess on the deck, but now I have that root ball, which I can dispose of. I will rinse out this later. Toss that in there for now. All right, let's do the next one. Now I'm assuming the root ball is not going to come out with this one either. I must say, as much as I love the gomphrena, I am happy to not have to water these pots anymore because they're so small. They even needed watering twice a day sometimes, and I would forget, and then they would look really sad when I came out. So let's do a little tapping on the deck. Oh no, this one's more stuck than the other one. Come on! You know, the planting part is much more fun than the cleaning up part in the garden. Okay, well, this is how this has ended. I don't know if I tapped a little too hard, but I didn't crack the other one, did I? No, the other one looks good. So I am down one pot, unfortunately, but that's okay. Also, this one, you can see how much more root bound this one is in that pot. So note to self, grow these in larger pots next year and bang a little bit more gently with terracotta. So I'll put my mess to the side. And then next, I think I'm going to take off more leaves from those zinnias and see how they look and if I leave them or not. I'm really not ready for huge bare spots though in the garden. It's too soon. So honestly, I think I just need to be tougher on these and prune some of these branches off, like this one at the bottom. You're coming off. So many leaves here are just not looking great. This plant is coming out. And let's go ahead and see what this looks like after I take off the most infected leaves. I don't know, guys. I don't think these zinnias are long for this world. There are two in there actually. And I pruned off a few branches, took off some leaves. It just keeps spreading, so I don't know, we'll see how it does. Since it's still blooming, like I said, I'll leave it for now. But if I do have to pull them soon, I don't think I'm going to replace them with anything in this bed. I don't even know what I would replace them with, but it'll just be the asters. I think there's one gomphrena. I need to trim the petunias up too, but I don't know if I feel like doing that today. I just realized my camera was sitting at this angle. I thought that was a really pretty view. The queen zinnias, queen lime zinnias, dahlias there in the back, and all the little happy pollinators. All right, so here's the mess I made with pruning that I need to clean up. The pot that's broken, the root balls there. I do have some flowers to take inside for bouquets. Before I go ahead and clean that up, let me take these inside and show you where I dry my gomphrena. I'm pretty sure I've shown you this area before, but these are the 3 curtain rods. But as you can see, they are currently full. So I now have a new place to dry even more flowers. Look at it. Oh, this area makes me so happy. So these shelves were just installed 2 days ago, and of course I already had to dry my flowers on it. So the 2 in the middle are the 2 bunches I just brought in today. The other 2 I brought in yesterday, but I got shelves with bars specifically so I could dry some flowers. Now obviously the bars are in the front, so when they're hanging down they would block anything in front of them, but I'm fine keeping this space open for now, and then I could potentially hang some over there, but I don't know, we'll see if I do or not, because those would block the shelves below them. But like I've said before, I use these for like decorating a Christmas tree. I make wreaths. I just make dried flower bouquets. They basically get me through the winter. So that's going to be everything for today, and I am so close to just wanting to empty out those 2 beds, and I don't know, even just plant like a bunch of echinacea or something in there, because let's see, August now. So how many more months? I mean, maybe with the echinacea it can last pretty far into October, if not early November, depending on our weather. So I don't know, but I'm just staring at them now and seeing how sad they look, and I honestly think it's probably time for the zinnias to go. But I'll leave them like this for now, and then we'll see if a few videos from now it's me emptying out those raised beds or not. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.